fast, efficient and affordable business-grade hosting solutions, domain registration, SSL certificates and more. We also monitor and provide website security and update services, website builds, email hosting, amongst other sensational products. If you have a question about your web page or your presence on the internet in general, no job is too big or too small. Visit our website today, or better yet, contact us at blueoceanwebhosting.com.au and leave your website issues to us.
Big ones, little ones, fiddly ones, powerful ones, the ones for the car or the truck, caravan, boat, mobility scooter, solar system. In fact, for any kind of battery, go straight to Battery Central Ipswich. They'll even help you when you know what you need to power, but have no idea what'll do the job. Battery Central Ipswich, 280 Brisbane Street, West Ipswich, behind the Yellow Building. Expert advice, better batteries, best prices, every day. That's Battery Central Ipswich.
Welcome to episode 731 of Aussie Tech Heads. I'm Jason Oakley and this is Till Wompkinson. How you doing, Till?
Close enough. It's been a day for it, actually. It's probably not far off it.
No?
Well, I mean, if Willy Wonka and was it Snowpiercer are sequels, then anything's possible.
Yeah, I ended up actually watching it after that, and it turned out I'm pretty sure I'd only seen bits of the original Snowpiercer movie or none, and just snippets in a trailer or something, because I didn't remember most of it. I certainly didn't know it was Chris Evans as the main character, and I wouldn't recognise him as that.
Yeah, I need to go back and watch it again, actually. In case you're wondering what we're talking about, last week we were watching on YouTube, somebody put up a thing saying that they reckon Snowpiercer is the sequel to Willy Wonka. And I can't deny that he's not wrong.
Yeah, the stuff that he gives examples in that seemed to fit.
So I have to go back and watch it again. But yeah, it sounds, I mean, it's perfectly plausible, put it that way.
Perfectly plausible plot.
Yes.
How you been?
I sound like, what's the name out of, is it Mr. Popper's Penguins?
Yeah.
What's her name? Well, she says everything's peas. Yeah, not too bad. It's been a weird week this week. It's been hot and cold and wet and dry and up and down and in and out. And
I have had this week off work and I've been gardening.
That'll teach you.
Shock horror. Yeah. Dug up a little garden bed, not a big one, and put down some organic mesh to keep the weeds away, and then piled on a ton of red wood chips and put in a few plants, because I got some bees now, native Australian bees with no stingers. Tiny little things they are, like little flies.
Yeah, they're cool, aren't they?
But they won't come out at the moment because it's too cold.
Yeah.
So I moved them to where they get a bit more sun, and then it rained, so they didn't get either. I think it's going to be raining for a week or so at the moment.
Oh, who knows what's going on? Like, you can literally travel around here. You can travel 200 meters in any direction, and it's the exact opposite of whatever it is here. Like, it's just so weird at the moment.
At least till Sunday, it's going to be raining now. So, well, it's good for my new garden anyway. I had fun. I've not actually been a gardening type person, but I bought this great big, huge hoe-matic thing with forks on the back of it, so I could dig up all the weeds that had been accumulating in there, and then put in some compost and put the plants in. And then I think there's another little garden bed up this end of the house that goes across past my room and up the fence, and I might put in like some vegetables and herbs or something in there. I'm getting all domesticated and stuff. What's going on?
It's only taken 50 years.
I'm going to have a week off work and do nothing, and then go gardening and digging up stuff every day. And
I don't mind gardening.
I actually enjoyed it. I did all the first digging with the hoe and getting all the weeds out. And I was like, oh, I'm bugging and I'm sweating buckets because it was a hot day. So I came in, watched an episode of The 100, which I finished now. Pretty good show. And then I was like, hurry up. I want this episode to finish so I can go back out and plant the things. I want to put the plants in. I was like, hang on. I was completely stuffed, and I was going to do the planting the next day and then something else the next day. And I'm like, no, I want to get back in there and do stuff.
Yes, it's one of those things. I mean, I did it for a living for many years, so the novelty's kind of worn off for me. But
I'd originally put down Like they have black plastic and then the wood chips. And a friend of mine who's been a landscaper for 25 years said, no, rip that stuff up, put down the mesh, organic mesh stuff that'll let the aerate, let the rain through,
Yeah.
and it'll still block the weeds from coming through, but it's better for the plants and the earth.
It won't really block the weeds. The 95% of the weeds are in the top 10 mil of soil, the top mil
Yep.
of mulch and soil, because it comes in with the mulch, it comes in, birds drop it, it comes in on the wind. So almost all of your weeds don't come from, unless you've turned the ground. If you've turned the ground, then you'll get like things like nutgrass, but for the most part, most of it comes off the top anyway.
Yep.
And weed mat, the old black plastic trick, that just destroys the ground.
Yeah.
It makes it so hard to actually make it usable again.
But it turns out Dad's going to use it for his garden anyway, so he wants to buy the black plastic off me. I'm like, well, you can ruin your garden, but mine's good and I get the money back, so it hasn't cost me anything except for a lesson.
That's it, exactly. But yeah, no, it's just been one of those weeks this week, and of course with the new, they got lockdown up here.
Lock it in, Eddie.
I don't know what it is. I think it was 3 days. I'm not sure if they extended it or not. But
we have to wear masks all over town, or they won't let us in the shops.
It's so funny. Like you see signs up everywhere. Everyone has to wear a mask, but nobody's got them on. It's everyone's over it.
Everyone in this little country town does, and we've never had a COVID here yet.
We're in a town full of farmers. The farmers don't care. The farmers know what's going on. They've got enough to worry about.
Better than anyone.
Yeah. So no, it's great. No one really cares. Even the even the police are wandering down the street doing the beat without masks on. It's like, yeah, whatever.
Everyone's over. It's been a year and a half, and they're like, no more.
I got a big sign on the front of the shop. Please remove masks for the safety of our staff and security cameras.
What's the point of having a camera if you can't see nobody?
Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, it's all fun and games, I suppose.
Yeah, probably know that by now that I released the new VZ game, which is a port of Ghosts and Goblins. I probably talked about that.
Last week,
there was a dude on Twitter who saw the tweet about it and asked me if he could do an interview with me for Kilobyte magazine about VZ games development and why I chose Ghosts and Goblins and what it took to write that and things like this. So I did a nice little interview with him, which will be in the next issue. I hadn't heard of Kilobyte magazine, but it's got a lot of old retro stories and stuff, so I'll have to check the rest of them out.
Nice.
And so I decided I was going to do a platformer type game next with the original IP, but I thought I changed my mind and decided to do it kind of like an adventure game, a bit like the Zelda and Link games.
Yep.
You go around fighting the monsters and collecting things and upgrading your weapons and things, because I've never done anything like that. But I was trying to figure out how I could let the player save their progress and then reload it later, because there's a disk format for the VZ for that main emulator, which is VZM for emulator, and WinVZ. And it can load disk images, and you can write to the disk images from inside it, but you can't get a VZ file and put it into the disk image.
Yeah.
So the developer hasn't got that, and he said it's not something he's going to look into doing soon. So I thought, well, I might be able to figure it out if I do a lot of research. And then I thought, I wonder if I could do something like Ghostbusters. Remember that? Was it you who showed me the article about how they encoded your bank account details based on your name?
Yep.
And then they give you a code at the end of it. If you type in the name and the code, and then you can get exactly the same value that you started with.
Yeah.
So I thought maybe I can come up with something like that and leave a code when people want to quit, and when they type the code in, it brings them back to the game where they were. Then you don't have to worry about loading and saving and disk errors. And if people got a disk drive and they want to put it on there or something, because it'd just be a single file.
It's just a calculation it needs to perform to give them back what they had.
Yeah. So you need to know what type of sword you got, what shield you've got, how much of the gems you've collected, how your health is, and all that sort of stuff, and work out some encoding thing. The only thing I did the kind of encoding thing for was when I released a Palm OS game called Quirl, and I sold it on Palm Gear websites, and you could put in a code system where when people bought it from you, they would type in their Palm username, which was usually just their name, like Jason Oakley, and then a code to unlock it once you purchased it. Their system used reverse Polish notation,
Yeah.
which I had to learn what that was and how it worked first, and then learn how to write that in Java, which I'd never written anything in Java up till that point in time. And then also do exactly the same code in C++, which was for the game that I was writing. So I managed to come up with something fairly simple. You could probably easily reverse engineer it, but it would take some of the letters from your name, turn them into values, and then produce a code for that, and then manage to get this Java written so it would produce the same code, so that when you pay for it on Palm Gear, you could type that code in and unlock it, and then save it on the system to say you've paid for it. So yeah, maybe something like that kind of thing, and it should be a lot of fun. It's got a lot of sprites done, working on the HUD at the top at the moment to display what items you got and how many things you've collected and what your health and stuff is, and it's working really well. So I'm having a lot of fun there now.
Sounds like a more advanced version of Windows 95 key. 1111111. Oh, it's registered now. Cool.
Yeah. we and early websites, when you type in a credit card number and you just put 888888888 and then go, oh, congratulations, that's a credit card number, because they just worked out if the number that you typed in was divisible by 8.
Yeah.
And they go, okay, that must be a real one. Now they've got right on it, and they know the difference. You can tell the difference between a Visa and a MasterCard and whether it's a valid number or not. But back then you could just sign.
Well, we used to have, back when you had the old swiping machines, they used to send us every week, they would send us an updated list of stolen card numbers. And you'd have to look at the card every time you got it and check it against the stolen card numbers to see if it was...
That would be... How would you look through thousands?
It actually wasn't that big. It was really only A2.
Yeah,
it really wasn't that big. Is it A2? No, A4, B2, isn't it? The next smaller one, the half an A4.
A5.
A5, yeah.
Yeah, it's half A4. You fold it in half lengthways.
Yeah, it wasn't that big. It was surprising, and because they were done in numerical order, you only had to look at the last 4 digits to see where they were, and
okay,
it only took a couple of seconds.
Imagine trying to do that with stolen credit cards these days.
Yeah, reams of paper. But
no, my petabyte hard drive can't store that many.
But what I found was funny was they'd send you a list of stolen credit card numbers, but they would send you the credit card number, Visa or MasterCard, the expiry date.
So if you want it, just in case you want to get a few things yourself.
But the other thing I found funny was it said, please display this prominently where it can be seen easily. So you'd usually have it up on the wall behind the cash register. And then you'd have... So that was in public display because you could turn around and look at it, right? And that was easy to display. But then you'd have the carbon copy part after you scan their card. After you swipe their card, you've got all their details on 3 pieces of paper. It's on the bottom piece, the carbon paper, and the top piece. The top piece would go in the top drawer. You'd give them the bottom piece, and the carbon paper you just chuck in the bin.
Yeah.
It's like, how is there not more credit card theft? Like,
You'd think there should be.
And I also learned a very valuable lesson back in the day. If your credit card was over limit, go to an old mum and dad fruit shop or something that had a mechanical card reader.
Yeah.
And they didn't know the card was over limit, so they could still process the card. And the bank would always honour that process. That's part of the agreement of having those, that the bank would honour it even if it was...
No wonder they got rid of it.
And And so if it gets down to the week and I'm out of money and out of food, I'd go down to the local mum and dad place and get $20 worth of groceries to do me. And then, I knew they'd get paid for it, so I wasn't worried. It wasn't like I was ripping off, because we had the same thing at work. Like I'd often buy stuff from work just so I could so I could survive. So back in the days of working full time and earning $200 a week for your privilege.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, no, those were the good old days.
Talking of security, I went into a business yesterday and they had a form there that said this needs to be signed by everyone who comes into the building for COVID tracking. They didn't have a scan thing.
Yeah.
And you had to put down your name, address, phone number, date you came, what time, and everything. And then this was left up on the front counter in front of the
Which is illegal.
receptionist.
That's actually a $5,000 instant on the spot fine. But yeah,
with a line of text at the bottom under the stuff in the heading saying, "Please keep this out of sight of other customers to ensure
privacy,
secure and privacy."
Yep.
I was like, that's not a terribly good idea, is it?
That's an instant on the spot fine of $5,000 per offence. So if there was 50 names in that, it'd be $5,000 times 50.
Yeah, there's only about 10. Most people, I was there. I didn't even know about it. Was there? They never told me you need to sign this. Nobody who came in or went out signed it while I was there.
You don't need to anyway.
I was like, I'm not going to worry.
But it was funny. They did that. They tried that at the library up here for a very short period of time until it was full of, Jim Beam and Coca-Cola and Bundy rum.
Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Yeah, and I don't think there was one real name in the entire book, and I think that lasted about 2 days, and I went, yeah, well.
There's too much trouble.
So
who can be bothered with all that in all the places?
Exactly.
Well, shall we do some news?
I suppose we can try something.
Researchers from a Hong Kong-based security vendor accidentally published a proof of concept for a new and unpatched vulnerability affecting the print spooler service on all current versions of Windows, sparking concerns that ransomware criminals could add the bug to their arsenals. The exploit allows for both local privilege escalation and remote code execution and was published on GitHub by researchers from Sangfor ahead of their presentation at the Black Hat Security Conference. It appears Sangfor researchers wrongly thought their proof of concept referred to a recently patched critical Windows printer spooler service vulnerability with a common vulnerability scoring system version 3.0 rating of 7.8 out of 10. However, other researchers tried out their proof of concept on patched Windows systems and discovered it still worked. After realizing this, Sangfor's researchers deleted the technical details and proof of concept code from GitHub. If it's been put on the internet, it's always going to be on the internet. You can't just delete it and hope it's... The proof of concept code is already being circulated, with some security researchers calling it a zero-day exploit that can be used to take over Active Directory domain controllers. Currently, exploitation of the vulnerability for remote code execution appears to require authentication. Serious vulnerabilities have long plagued Windows print spooler service, which was added to the operating system in the mid-90s. So, don't use your print spooler service.
You don't have a choice anymore. If you've got a network printer or a wireless printer or a printer of any sort now, by default it uses it. So,
well, the hack's out there if you want it. Get into someone's system.
I mean, okay, it's not really going to worry the average mum and dad. It's going to be a corporate thing, but
if your printer starts printing out number 5 is alive 100 times over,
Johnny 5,
you might be hacked.
No, this is Sambo.
The fun thing is that
yeah, I know.
Johnny 5.
I can't see it because it's pretending to be a green screen.
Always funny when the printer's user interface was not secured, and you could get the printer instead of saying out of paper to say "Help, I'm drowning" or "Please help me, I want coffee" or something.
Yeah, dead fish.
Dead fish.
Yeah. So
PC load letter. What the hell does that mean?
Press any key. So that was a good one. We used to have, because we were an authorized HP printer repair center.
Yep. We
used to have fun with some of those the old HP LaserJet 3s and stuff like that.
They
had an old, little 2-line dot matrix screen on it.
Yep.
But you could change some of the error code. So yeah, you're out of paper. Instead of it saying out of paper, you could say something like, you just do something that put it into a continuous loop. So like press OK to continue or something like that, and you'd get service calls going, "My printer's not working."
I pressed OK, and it still said to press OK.
Not that I'd recommend and condone anybody who does that, mind you.
No.
But if you got to fulfill your service contracts, you got to fulfill your service contracts.
It reminds me of when I was a teenager and I used to go onto computers with autoexec.bat and put in a thing that would automatically run this program, and it said how to keep an idiot entertained for hours on end. Press any key to continue. So you press it and it says how to keep an idiot entertained.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm pressing it, nothing else is happening. What's going on?
When you do the MBR space /B.
Yep.
And then press any key to continue loading Windows. And you press any key and it acknowledges the format of the master boot record. And the thing was, it would work fine because it would not happen until the computer was restarted.
Yep.
So you could format the MBR and get away with it.
And it still worked.
And it'd work all day, or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 days until the computers are turned off.
Yep.
And then, on Monday everybody come in. What is it? Just a flashing dot? What do you mean MBR not found? What?
There was something that went around a place that we were supporting when I worked for HP, and the MBR would get broken on everything, and you could use a boot floppy or USB or something and use fix MBR and repair it, but none of these things would start, and it was happening to all the computers.
Yeah, fix MBR, and the other one that would break was the Win.sys.
Yep.
For no apparent reason, Win.sys would suddenly just go, no, I'm not there anymore. But the thing is, if you typed, I think it was something like c:\/Windows/system/win.sys, it would boot the Windows.
Oh, okay.
And then next time it did exactly the same thing. What actually happened was, for one apparent reason, it was like updating from like Windows 95A to B to C to plus. Every time it would update, it'd drop the path equals command out of the autoexec.bat.
Oh,
so
right.
path
So
equals Windows /system wasn't there anymore, so it just couldn't find the file even though the file was there.
Stupid
Anyway,
stuff.
that's old school. Speaking of old school, Patreon. Okay, it's not that old, but
it is
a way to give us money. Patreon.com/AussieTechHeads. ko-fi.com/AussieTechHeads. You can do a PayPal donation or a bank or you can do the old-fashioned way and send us a birthday card with scratchies.
Pop into Will's shop and give him a 20.
Yeah, come into Battery Central and come see us in Ipswich and
get a discount.
We'll give you a discount, and you can give me money, and that kind of counts.
You can have discount and that count and any count you want.
That's it. And no, it really does help, guys. It helps us keep things happening and rolling. And
what?
What I'm trying to
Somebody's hacked Will. Was that Till Wonkinson coming out?
Wonka Vision. What I was trying to say is it looks like Glenn's trying to actually upgrade his computer too, because he sent me a message the other day saying, what system are you running and what specs is it? And I sent him the thing back, so we'll see. Said, so you can have everything except the graphics card. You can't have a graphics card.
You can't buy one.
You can have the rest of the system. So hopefully you won't be recording in toast anymore.
And we got this sponsor thing here. Blue Ocean.
Blue Ocean. Shaggy. Blue Ocean is it's an amalgamation. So previously we had Aussie Tech Heads, we had whatever they were, I don't know, I can't remember. The other people used to advertise. But start a new company, and there's another one. But yeah, it's all been amalgamated now. It's all in Blue Ocean web hosting.
Yep.
And that's Glenn doing his thing and trying to help the listeners
on
out.
a website, go see him.
Yeah, the ATH will continue to work. And we'll still be Aussie Tech Heads, and the ATH domain will still continue to work. So if you've got an existing site there, that's fine. But you can go to Blue Ocean and get the new and improved fast, speedy servers and all that sort of stuff.
Funky server.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool. But yeah, that aside, speaking of stuff on the internet, which there we go, there's a segue that worked.
We are.
Tim Berners-Lee.
He had something to do with the internet, didn't he?
He had some small part to play in.
I don't know.
Some minor role. He has sold his World Wide Web source code as an NFT for $5.4 million.
Nice. I got some source code. Can I sell it for that?
Probably not. No, I would doubt. I mean, you can try. And 10 points for free creativity. The creator of World Wide Web, Tim Berners-Lee, has sold NFT version of his source code from the early 90s for just over 5.4 mil. Source code for World Wide Web 1990 to 91 was purchased as a non-fungible token, NFT. I saw something the other day too. It was NGT or something, like a non-gateable token or something. Paid for crypto through Sotheby's auction house. NFTs are used to verify unique items. Blockchain created certificate of authenticity use a digital asset for art, in this case. Source code. The work included original archive, dated and time-stamped files for the source code written between 3rd of October 1990 and 24th of August 91. They contain the code with approximately 9,555 lines.
Wow.
That's a very approximate figure, Mike. So basically the owner now has also has a 30-minute and 25-second animated virtualization of the code being written on an SVG representation of the full code, which stretches 841 millimeters wide by 1189 millimeters high, which is
Doesn't
created
say who bought it.
by Tim Berners-Lee from the original Python. It's a graphic representation of the physical signature. The letter also has a pen. Owner also has a letter penned by Berners-Lee earlier in the year. No, it doesn't say. Not surprising. They're not going to say.
If I bought it, I'd be like, dudes, I bought the web.
The proceeds will go to Berners-Lee's selected charities. Earlier this year, Twitter CEO and co-founder Jack Dorsey sold the first ever tweet for $2.9 million.
Wow.
The tweet, which reads, "Just setting up my Twitter, TWTTR."
Yep.
Remember when that was the thing?
That was Twitter and Flutter and
Was
the
purchased,
Facebook.
was purchased as an NFT paid in Ether. In Australia, Lloyd's Auction has decided blockchain is the best way to prove ownership of, and we're doing the show early tonight. Prove ownership of that's the problem. Set a negative, not drunk enough. Capturing moments of Australia's history, such as Ned Kelly's armour and Farlap's winning Melbourne Cup in 1930. The auction house will mint Rose Stereograph Company, a collection of original glass plate negatives from over 140 years of operation via NFT. So, yeah, interesting.
NFT, all the things.
And speaking of NFTs, we have a handful still available if you're interested.
There it is.
If you
They're non-fungible. That's what means you can't have a handful.
If you got them fixed, they may have been slightly broken. The early release may have been slightly.
Dewey
broken.
was the guinea pig. Thanks for that, mate.
So we've fixed, since I say we as if I had anything to do with it, we've fixed that problem, and that's no longer a problem. So now the NFT will actually work. They are costing us money, but we're happy to give away. What have we got? Half a dozen, I think, don't we?
I
Something
did
like
5 as an initial run, but you
Yeah.
can do another lot anytime.
So we're not going to do too many because they cost us money to do. But if you would like to have one, you know what they are, and you're curious, just for
And you're a
a
Patreon.
bit of shits and giggles, hit us up, and yeah, we'll head one your way. We'll
Yep.
have one headed your way towards you once you're head.
We need your engine wallet address so we can send it through.
Yeah.
Britain's financial regulator has ordered Binance, one of the world's largest cryptocurrency exchanges, to stop all regulated activity and issued a warning to consumers about the platform, which is coming under growing scrutiny globally. In a notice dated June 25, the Financial Conduct Authority, FCA, said Binance Markets Limited, Binance's UK entity, must not, without the prior written consent of the FCA, carry out any regulated activities with immediate effect. Binance did not respond to the request for a comment. While trading of cryptocurrency is not directly regulated in Britain, offering services such as trading income cryptocurrency derivatives does require authorization. The FCA has told Binance that by June 30 it must display a notice stating Binance Markets Limited is not permitted to undertake any regulated activity in the UK on its website and social media channels. It must also secure and preserve all records relating to UK customers and inform the FCA. This has been done by July 2. The regulator did not explain why it's taken the measures against Binance, which has said previously that it takes its legal obligations very seriously and engages with regulators and law enforcement in a collaborative fashion. The FCA is stepping up its oversight of cryptocurrency trading, which has soared in popularity in Britain along with other countries around the globe. Since January, the FCA has required all firms offering cryptocurrency-related services to register and show they comply with anti-money laundering rules. However, earlier this month it said that just 5 firms had registered, and the majority were not yet compliant. Japan's regulator said on June 25 that Binance was operating in the country illegally. A notice posted on Japan's Financial Services Agency website showed.
Countries don't really understand the concept of a crypto, do they?
They don't understand crypto at all. They're like, crypto's bad, crypto's evil. We're investing in it. All our banks are investing in it. All the rich people are investing in it, but it's evil. You shouldn't.
And we need you to display a sign saying that you can't use them.
Yeah.
We can't actually stop you from trading at all, but you must put up a sign. Otherwise, we're going to do absolutely nothing about it. I mean, literally, that's what it is. They're not hosted in that country. They have no affiliation with that country.
Mm.
And if they don't display the sign, there's no recourse.
Yep.
Yes, that's
our very naughty boy.
Talk about a toothless dog.
Yeah. Oh, you're talking about the ACCC?
I was going to say it's nearly as bad as the ACCC.
I think we got a story about that.
There's always a story about them. Although, speaking of toothless dogs, Queensland Police use checking app data. So, despite the assurances of the government, both state and federal, as proven 2 weeks ago, the Western Australian Police or South Australian Police, one of the two, used data from the checking app to find somebody. And this week, Queensland Police have used data collected by the checking app to find somebody. So apparently people don't understand the concept of you can't do that and this is private data that you don't have access to. And it wasn't just a one-off thing. It's multiple times it's happened. There's been a lead to calls for Queensland Privacy and Human Rights Commission to the state government is saying, well, we're looking at you because you're the one who said it was private data, and we're looking at the police. Then we're going to ask them to wake up to themselves. Unfortunately, there's not a lot they can do. They are just human rights commissioners, but they're not. They're kind of like the ACCC. They don't actually have power. They can go, you're a naughty boy and shouldn't have done that, but they can't really do much about it.
That's it.
Earlier this month, Western Australian government did the same thing. It does say here it was them. And apparently Victorian authorities have been trying to do it, but they're having more trouble getting the data. So the police have no trouble breaking privacy laws, and they're trying to coerce the COVID safe people to giving them the access to the data in Victoria as well. So another reason yet to not to use it. Not that it works anyway. It's still another broken thing. But they're saying data is supposed to be held for 28 days. They're seeing reports of data being held for at least 56 days, if not longer.
Jeez.
So data's being held twice as long as it's supposed to be. It's being given to people who aren't supposed to have it. It's being used for situations not supposed to be used for. So stop giving people... Just stop.
Stop checking in.
Just stop checking in. You don't need to anyway. There's absolutely no law to say you can. Even the Prime Minister's admitted that he can't actually make you do it. He just wants people to. And the Human Rights Commission have released a press statement saying that we tell you, they specifically released a statement saying do not check in. It is against privacy. It's a breach of the Privacy Act. It's like they've literally come out and said this. The government is in breach of the Privacy Act and they are trying to chase them down. But it doesn't achieve anything.
No, this government does whatever they want.
Unfortunately,
don't matter.
That's right. And the problem is people are just sheep and go, yes, sir, the government's looking after me. I better do what they say.
It'll secure my data. That's why I opted out of my health.
Yep.
Because I don't believe they would keep it safe and secure.
Neither did they when they said it.
No.
So, yeah. But, yeah, so there's another nail in the coffin for.
I was thinking the
Government?
phrase nail in a coffin. How'd you do that?
It's the nail sticking out of your head. See, that's what gave it away. Actually, for me, I was watching Happy Gilmore earlier, and it's the Jaws dude with the nail, and he's sticking out of his head.
All right.
But yeah, so it's look, just stop. You know, they're like, oh, these people are, you know, we've had no deaths, but that's not the point. The vaccines have killed hundreds of times more people than the virus has, but don't worry about that. And we're going to lock you down because nobody's got it. But if you stop getting freaking tested, nobody can test positive to a false test, can they? Anyway, people don't like it.
Well, it's obviously all the tracking's working, which is why we're all locked down again everywhere.
Yeah, it's working so well they don't know where to lock down, so they just lock everything down.
Yeah.
Oh, wait. They already did that.
Not New South Wales. It's something that Dictator Dan does down in Victoria. New South Wales doesn't lock down. They just put restrictions on that you can't go anywhere or do anything, but it's not a lockdown.
No, it's not a lockdown, no. That'd be
not a lockdown.
That'd be unethical. We wouldn't put you in lockdown. It's so dumb. Yet they've just passed a law saying that, or they're trying to pass a law currently, that's saying that all babysitters and daycare centres and home daycare and all this sort of stuff, they have to ask the kid, no matter how young this child is, they have to ask the child if the child's okay with them changing their nappy. So they expect a 0-month-old to understand the concept of freedom and consent, and yet they're quite happy to take that away from adults. Anyway, this is the wrong show for me ranting. I'll get in trouble.
You need a show for that.
I always get emails going, this isn't a political show, stop it.
This week in rants.
Twir.
Australia's open banking scheme has reached its next major milestone. Didn't know it had the first one, did you?
I was going to say, what was the other one?
With all banks and credit unions now expected to share basic consumer data with individuals and registered data holders. From today, non-major authorised deposit-taking institutions, ADIs, will be required to join Big Four banks as data holders under the Consumer Data Right Scheme, CDR. As data holders, institutions will initially need to share data on savings and transaction accounts, as well as credit and debit cards with individuals if they request it. The data will also be available to a handful of data recipients that have been accredited by the Australian Competition and Consumer Commission to use the data to provide product or service. A phased approach will then see ADIs share data for home loans and personal loans from November, followed by other loans and lines of credit, trusts and retirement accounts from February 2022. Commonwealth Bank, ANZ, Westpac and NAB have been sharing this consumer data under phases 1, 2 and 3 of the scheme since February, after first joining the CDR in July 2020. But even as CDR enters its next phase, only a handful of Tier 2 lenders have currently signed on as data holders, while the remaining delaying their entry, some by up to 18 months. In addition to the Big Four banks, 10 additional ADIs and their respective brands have become data holders at the time of publication. 2 of these, including Regional Australia Bank, which became a data holder late last year, and Australian Military Bank, including RSL Money, have done so using fintech Bizarre.io's CDR solution. Macquarie Bank, Suncorp, Citigroup, AMP, Judo Bank, that sounds like a cool one. FPOS provider Tyro and Neobank's Up and Vault have also become last-minute data holders, which ACCC's website shows has occurred in the last 3 weeks. I wonder if this is going to let them set up common API so you could use software like Mint, which they do in the US. You can just log on to your bank with the Mint software and it'll tell you how your spending's going, what you're spending so much money on, what percentage of your pay goes to where, and help you
you can
manage it.
Already do that with Xero. And Tyro is a bank primarily before they're an FPOS company.
Right. I never heard of them till now.
Tyro. They're big in the FPOS, and especially in small business because they're very low fee. Like Square. But Tyro start off as a bank, and then they do the FPOS thing. So they've got their own. When you sign up for a Tyro FPOS terminal, they prefer it if you sign up for a bank account as well, because the clearing funds go into that account every day. Then they transfer from there into your bank, so they get 1 day of interest on all their transactions.
Yep.
Which offsets some of the fees you'd pay for the FPOS machine. So it's not a bad way of doing it. And if you use Xero, it integrates with the Square and Tyro and Westpac and NAB. Like, it integrates with all these things already, and it has your feed when you log in. It gives you the feed and what's you know, expenditures and your expenses and profit and loss, and it's all integrated in there. So
they need something like that for consumers.
Most consumers don't need that, though.
Well, that's why they got the Mint company in the US that are consumers use that to monitor their spending and see how much they spend on food, entertainment,
you can do
travel.
Mint is a company there's Mint here as well, and it's a company you can do, and you could do the same thing with something like Xero, because you could have a personal account. I think it's $9 a month or something for a personal account, and it would do the same thing. But most users don't need that. There's only a select few who that would be a thing that you'd need to do. Most people just can get away with using an Excel spreadsheet. Honestly, like, it's the same 10 bills every month. Like, very little changes for most people.
Yep.
You know, unless and if you're a high flyer or executive or somebody who's going on holidays every 3 months anyway, you're not doing your own bookwork. Somebody else is.
No,
so it doesn't matter. So, speaking of high flyers and executive type, 2 high-profile Microsoft presidents are leaving the company. Kate Johnson and Tony Towns-Whitley. Kate Johnson, president of Microsoft US, and Tony Towns-Whitley, president of Microsoft US Regulated Industries, both leaving the company. The pair announced their departures over the past 2 days. Both are leaving for personal reasons. Johnson has been president of Microsoft for 4 years. She led a 10,000-person strong team and was accountable for $45 billion in profit. And Towns-Whitley has been the president of US Regulated Industries for 3 years. She's been responsible for a 2,000-plus person team and $11 billion profit and loss. $11 billion profit. So they're leaving. In a statement, Microsoft just basically said that what did it say? They're leaving, have decided to leave the company due to personal reasons. We are deeply, deeply grateful for their respective contributions and wish them all the best. That's about all I say about that. But there's something a little bit fishy there, because on the same day they announced their resignation, Microsoft and Google have decided to stop playing nice.
Yeah.
The two tech giants recently ended up a year-long truce during which they agreed not to aim their substantial lobbying firepower,
Mr. Till Wilkinson.
firepower against each other, with regulators around the world threatening to impose limits on the power of the biggest technology companies. The two rivals, which compete in the web service, cloud computing and artificial intelligence, are now free to step up behind-the-scenes lobbying efforts and public complaints against one another. The old non-aggressive pact, forged at the time with two new CEOs wanting a fresh start and a formerly acrimonious relationship, there's your big word for the day, had already been fraying. Yeah, that one. Had already been fraying before it lapsed in April. The companies feuded publicly over a proposal to forge Google to pay news publishers for context and squabbled more quietly over technology for selling search ads, and neither company is eager to extend or renew the alliance. According to people familiar with each company's thinking who aren't allowed or authorized to discuss confidential relationships. And yet that's exactly what they just did. So just by saying that you're not allowed to doesn't negate the fact that that's literally what you just did. But yeah.
And Satya Nadella has just become the CEO and chairman instead of just the CEO.
Yeah. So he's got a beef against Google.
Must do. Mustn't be vegan then.
with a name like that, it's surprising.
Where's the beef?
Show us the beef. Bring back the beef. Oh wait, those bring back the beef. Oh well. Close enough.
Wasn't he in Back to the Future?
Biff?
Yeah.
Or Reg?
I'm polishing your car, sir.
That's the second card, I promise.
Under the bonnet, son. That'll be the phone, Reg.
That'll be the phone, Reg.
How that came into Australian vernacular pretty much, didn't it?
Well,
anytime the phone went off, that'll be the phone, Reg. Under the bonnet, son.
Sonia's dad his name's Steve, but we know three Steves. So he's Reg, after Answer the Phone Reg.
Yeah.
And then another Steve friend of ours is called Princess, because when he gardens, he wears gloves, so we call him his princess gloves. Another Steve I know is just called Steve. So
one of the new guys starting at HP when we were in Brisbane, they called him Princess. He was young and fresh and would do anything anyone said, even if it meant working overtime for free. And he was, yep, I'm going to do it for the customer. I'm like, geez, you're an idiot, aren't you?
Yeah.
They're going to take advantage of you and run over you. I turn up, hi, I'm here to fix a computer. Oh, can you do it at 5? No, obviously it's not that busy, not that important. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye. Hey, wait. Oh, all right, you can have it for an hour and fix it. Good. That's a good idea. Why didn't I think of that?
That's it.
Do you want it fixed or do you want it not fixed? I'm not going to do free working and stay back till midnight for you.
Yeah, exactly. That's one thing that used to annoy me with service contracts, because technically they're paying their monthly fee for service contracts, and because they're already paying you for 100 hours a month or whatever, they're getting towards the end of the month and you've only put 20 hours in, you get called for every little thing that happens. Somebody knocked over the coffee machine and somehow it's my responsibility to go and fix it. Somebody's been hanging their feet on the network cable behind the computer so they can keep their feet up, and they snap the cable and pull it out of the back of the computer and wreck the network card that's built into the computer motherboard at 5 o'clock on a Friday afternoon. And
it's
somehow it's my job to fix it. That's the down. If you're in an industry where service contracts are a thing, and most industries have those to some degree, put specifications in place so that doesn't happen. You want us there, fine. We can be there between 10 o'clock and 2 o'clock. You don't get us at 6 o'clock of a morning and we don't stay there till 6 o'clock of a night. If you've got a problem, it's between 10 and 2. If it gets to 2 days to the end of the month and you've still got 30 hours up, too bad, because I don't work more than between 10 and 2.
Yeah.
You're paying for a service contract. You're not paying for me for petty things that you should be able to fix. If I have to come and fix something that literally takes me 2 seconds and I could have done it over the phone when I asked you, have you restarted your computer? And you say no, you'll be charged an additional fee because that's not part of the service contract.
Right.
So, yeah.
Better learn the hard way.
Yep.
Windows 11 won't run on many current Windows machines. We do know that only certain processors will be supported, only 64-bit machines will be supported, and only machines with a TPM chip will run Windows 11, and that's TPM version 2.0. A lot of them came with 1.2,
and
which
with
is
the
not
chip.
supported.
And a lot of them come without the chip. They come with support for it, as we discovered.
Yeah, well, my brand new motherboard I bought this year, and a not very cheap computer, the latest everything, has the pin headers for TPM, but it doesn't have the TPM. And I emailed the guys I got it from, and they're like, none of our motherboards have got TPM built in. In fact, we don't know any that do.
No.
But people in the US are like, oh yeah, I bought a computer 2 years ago. It's got TPM 2.0 built into the CPU.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They're like, mine's fine. It says, because for people who are listening, there's a Windows health check program you can download, which will look at the setup of your computer and see if it's got all the things required for Windows 11, which it probably hasn't. And there's also the TPM chip might be disabled in the BIOS, and it's not called TPM, it's called like PTT.
Yeah.
And do you think Joe user is A, going to know what a TPM is, B, know how to check if it's in there, C, look in the BIOS and change a BIOS
to
make, even if he does have the TPM in there, he has to edit. People are not going to do Windows 11.
Mine, well, you know what my system specs are. Mine doesn't have it either. Mine's got the header for it, but no chip.
Yeah.
And I looked and the chip is available. I can purchase the chip for $450.
Holy crap.
My motherboard cost me $200.
That
means I have a $650 motherboard if I want that chip.
Yeah, well, they said we don't actually have any TPM chips
in
any of our branches. We can order you one specially if you really like. And I'm like,
I got to order it
maybe I will have to
order it from the UK or something. But anyway, finish the story off. But yeah, I'll talk about that in a sec.
So what does it mean for you and me? It means that many machines will be left behind. They'll become the walking dead, unable to upgrade, but still shambling along. The biggest concern, of course, is security. For those who pay, Windows 7 security updates will be available through January 2023. It's not easy for smaller businesses and individuals to get that support, but it's there. Mainstream support for Windows 8 and 8.1 is over, but extended support is available through January 2023. Windows 10 support, especially for those abandoned by Windows 11's restrictive update policy, will end in October 2025, but may be extended. That's good news because there are roughly 1.3 billion Windows 10 devices out there. How many won't be able to upgrade? That's not a question we don't know the answer to now. Some machines will be left behind despite owners' preferences. Many others will remain behind because their owners either don't know how, don't care, or refuse to upgrade. Others can't upgrade because they're reliant on legacy software that only runs on the older machines.
Mm-hmm.
No matter the reason, expect millions of Windows 10 machines to be in the wild for a decade or more, each an ever-increasing magnet for malware, each an ever-increasing danger to other machines that might encounter and infect. Even if you and I are stuck on Windows 10, we still have a good 4 years of support. That gives us 4 years to come up with a replacement plan, which is more than enough time. For those of you who choose hell no, I won't go, it gives you time to ascertain security risks of running unprotected and find ways to protect those legacy machines. I think there's going to be such a low adoption rate for Windows 11.
I'm still running Windows 7 on some of my computers. Shit, I got a computer down the shed that's still on XP. Purely for driver compatibility reasons.
It's doing fine.
Well, it's not hooked up to the internet anyway. It just runs a laser cutter, but it's software reasons it's on that. But okay. So here's the thing: in literally 5 seconds, all these problems can be solved. When you create a boot disk for Windows 11, there's one file that you have to move from one folder to another folder. Fixes the problems that won't do a hardware check and install on anything. So
that's the kind of thing that's happened in the past, hasn't it?
Yeah.
There's just been one. You could edit one file and change a 0 to a 1 or a no to a yes, and then suddenly your computer works with everything.
Yep. It was back when Windows XP came out. Your system needed a minimum of 128 meg of RAM to install, and most of my systems, well, at least all the laptops at the time, were only 64 meg.
Yep.
So you could just change one file on boot up and it would install. It wouldn't do a memory check.
It's like an INI file or something.
Yeah. And it's literally the same thing. It's still an INI file on Windows 11. And you literally just move it from one folder to the other and it won't do the hardware check and it'll install.
Great.
And most people who have done checks, at least on YouTube, you look around, a lot of people have put them onto all sorts of random hardware.
Yep.
And they work perfectly. There's almost no systems. There's even some systems that were running XP and 7 that wouldn't run 8 or 10, but they'll run 11.
What about Windows 9?
So, what about Windows 9? Wasn't that Vista? And so the other option that's becoming a strong counterpoint to that is Linux.
Yep.
There's many Linux variables now that are indeed almost Windows. There's Winx and there's a few of them that actually look exactly like Windows and operate. 99% of the software that would operate under Windows runs under these.
Yep.
So it's not that far fetched that Linux might become a thing again. But I think it's at least if you're on Windows 10 now. So you got to think there's a whole heap of NUCs and stuff like that are released that'll run 10, but they won't run 11. They physically just don't have the hard drive space and the memory to do it.
Yeah.
So, Windows 10 now, what is it, another 5 years before they're going to pull support, possibly as much as 7 years. Let's face it, 90% of the hardware that's around now won't be around in 5 to 7 years' time anyway. Hardware just doesn't last that long anymore. It's no longer 10, 15 years.
I think part of the problem is there'll be a lot of people who just can't afford to buy another computer in that time.
Well, as I said, a lot of the hardware is not going to be around. They're not going to have a choice. The hardware is physically going to fail. So I don't think it's going to be more of an issue for businesses than for individuals, because most computers, now, if you bought a computer now, you're still 5 years away. So I can't see, knowing the quality of the computers that are available, unless it's a custom-made system like the one you and me have got.
Yep.
If it's an off-the-shelf Compaq or HP or whatever, well, we've gone through that at work, sitting there as a point of sale system doing almost nothing.
Yep.
2 years, and they're done. So I can't see too many systems being around in 5 years' time for it to be an issue. And
I did see a leak somebody was talking about on Reddit. They were saying that computers from, I think it was 2016, all computers were supposed to be required to come with TPN 2.0, even if it wasn't enabled or used.
I think that's only in the States, I think.
Yeah.
Because that's where I can get the chip for mine. I can get it from the States. But they're expensive because they're not supposed to be... You have to find basically a dead motherboard.
Yep.
And get the chip of it because the chips aren't supposed to be sold separately. Well, at least not that I can... At least not for my board anyway.
Yep.
So I have to basically purchase a dead motherboard and hope that the chip's still okay.
And hope it's got the chip.
Yeah, well, that's it. So that's why it's, $400 purchase because you're buying a motherboard plus freight plus everything else.
Jeez.
So it's so dumb.
Microsoft, just stop it.
I don't know. But we say the same thing every time another version of Windows come out. And it is true. You look at the release patterns of every Windows that come out and there is less adoption. More people are either sticking with older software or they are moving to a different platform.
Get a Mac.
No, because people are being driven away from Mac recently as well because of the crap they're pulling.
Yeah.
Statistically, Linux is starting to actually become a very big player.
Pick up, yeah.
The biggest problem with Linux is such a stagnated industry. There are so many flavors of Linux that unless you know what you're looking at...
Elementary OS runs the Minecraft servers nicely.
Yeah. But this is the thing. With Linux, you almost have to know what you want to do with it before you do it.
Yeah.
Because you need to install a version of Linux that will support your future operations. The only good thing about it is you can install 30 versions of Linux to do all sorts of different things, and it's not an issue.
Yep.
It goes into a bootloader, and you just pick which version you want. So that's not really a...
And they can all be live.
Yeah.
One good thing Apple did is they've just released Lion and Mountain Lion for free.
Yeah.
Which is like 7 years old.
I was going to say it. At least they didn't just...
Finally.
But there's still a lot of old Macs just inherently because of the older quality of the Macs were good quality machines.
Yeah.
There's still a lot of the older Macs still kicking around.
They do their forced planned obsolescence by saying, no, we won't let any new programs be submitted to the App Store unless it only runs on the latest 2 operating systems from Mac and the others it won't run on.
Yeah. Which is why they don't want sideloading. Because if they allow sideloading, it's going to stop that from being a thing. So, but yeah, I don't know. Look, it's too early to tell. We'll see what happens. It may even be that in a month's time, Microsoft goes, well, we won't have the TPM thing then if it's, But you got to remember, as I said, it's compulsory in the States. They look at their biggest market share. Who knows?
Yep.
But no, apparently if you change that file, it runs on just about anything. So it's not that much of a big deal. Might make some installers some money for... But yeah, I was saying the biggest issue is going to be corporate. Especially if you've got a couple of floors worth of dumb terminals.
Yeah.
That's a big expense. And some of the software, like Blue Iris, for example, which is the security software, only runs on Windows 10. It doesn't run on any other version of Windows.
Yeah.
It doesn't have, or Linux or anything. It literally is only Windows 10. So... And that's a one-man band. He's a single guy programming it when he can, updating it when he can. Does a really good job of it, but I can't see him rewriting the entire thing to push it across to a different version of Windows.
Nah.
So, no. We'll see what happens, I guess. Speaking of a one-man team, Simon Pegg.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all. That's all I got.
All right. Thanks for listening.
So Simon Pegg is... So most people who listen to the show, I'm sure, are aware of Galaxy Quest.
Yep.
One of the greatest cult movies of the 2000s, really. Like, it has a massive cult following. And it's a good, funny movie. Tim Allen, Sigourney Weaver, Alan Rickman. All the great actors. Monk. I can never remember his name. That's how I know him as.
We need your help.
And he's a really well-known actor too. He's a British actor, I think, isn't he?
Yeah.
The guy who plays that lead, and I can't think of his name either. But he's going to be rewriting Galaxy Quest as a
Tony
a
Shalhoub, he was born in
series.
Wisconsin.
That's him, Shlu, yeah.
You get
He was
US.
born in Wisconsin. Okay, I thought he was English. He just always plays English characters.
Seems to be.
He's writing a series of Galaxy Quest. Going to hopefully follow it up and see how he goes. So television spin-off. They haven't really released much about it, other than they're trying to get approval from. I think they're looking at doing it with Amazon. They're looking at bringing back as many members of the original cast as they can, which is potentially a problem because they're not all around. Tim Allen's up for anything. Like he'll go to the opening of a bottle of champagne. He will, like us, you know. Sigourney Weaver, who knows? She's probably a bit busy, but it'll have as much of the original cast as possible interacting with the new cast. They're taking the premise of the new Star Trek movie that featured new cast with the timeline split. How they went through the black hole and split the timeline. That's how they got away with changing the cast. And same principle. Yep. That's basically what they're going to do. So they're going to have some new cast interacting with some of the old cast. They're going to be doing different things. They actually started in 2009. It was originally thought of to be a series instead of a movie. Then they wrote it into a movie and released it. And then it was 2016, Alan Rickman passed away. But it was about that time they were actually talking about a spin-off series then. But when he passed away, they mothballed that idea. But they've taken it back out of mothballs again, and they're going to see if they can make it happen. So, I mean, he's a funny bugger, so...
He wrote at least one of the Star Trek movies.
Yeah. Co-writing Star Trek Beyond.
Yep.
2016, yeah. He's done a lot of stuff. He's been in a million things. He's been in many things that you don't even realise it's him half the time.
Who knew he was Scottish?
So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. I don't know. If it was... It's hard with cult stuff. That's why there's never really been another attempt at, like, Grease and Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels and those sort of movies, because wow, complete blank. The Rocky Horror, stuff like that, they kind of... The industry kind of steers away from doing remakes of cult movies, because it's a very fine line between all your audience appreciating it and pissing off every single person.
Yeah.
Like, and
how do you do it?
Well, Tron found that out the hard way. They really walked that line very carefully when they redid Tron. So we'll see. I mean, I'm all for it as long as it has that. I guess it's almost the Orville again, isn't it? Like, the Orville took the Galaxy Quest parody of Star Trek as inspiration.
Yep.
So it's almost like if you're going to do a new season of Galaxy Quest, you need to take the Orville for inspiration. You know,
Yeah.
it's kind of that...
Feed off each other.
Yeah, it's kind of that thought process. It needs to be that that flippant, lighthearted, almost always irrelevant feel, and then there's 10 minutes of really intense things happening, and then it's back to that flippant irrelevancy again. Like that. That's what it needs to be. They need to be really careful with it. But yeah,
You know what I'm going to have to watch tomorrow now, don't you?
Galaxy Quest.
Yeah.
I watched. Have you watched the there's a fan movie where they got a lot of the cast back together and did behind the scenes, did interviews, and
Oh, no. Is that on YouTube or something?
I paid for it from the website. It was not much. It was $6 or $7.
Yeah, thanks for the
It's an
info.
actual. I'm just quickly seeing if I can find it while I'm talking to you, but yeah, it was actually a very, very well put together. Took them 5 years or something.
Yep.
And Never Surrender, it's called.
Uh-huh.
And it's really, really, it's really well done. Basically, it's almost a movie in and of itself, even though it's sort of a behind the scenes things. But if you do, look up Never Surrender and buy it from the website. Give the creators their credit. It's like $5. It's well worth the money. And I think yes, it is available on certain places, but but yeah, no, it's definitely worth a watch.
Mm.
I'm gonna have to watch that again now.
Thanks for listening to the Aussie Tech Head Show. We can be found at Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Patreon, and Coffee. Email us willarwarlock@aussietechheads.com.au and go to aussietechradio.com 24/7 back-to-back playing the best tech-related shows from Australia and New Zealand. See you next time.
Bye.